Now we want to create a layer that will give us the opportunity to manipulate the specularity. In this case, we know that our shader is using um, some specularity values on the surface. There we can see a little bit of highlights showing up there. The eye also has specularity going on, some reflection actually going on, that you can see some of the trees reflected on the eyes, on the white eye part of the eye. So definitely we want to have control over that specularity the best we can. We could leave it as is right now, but as it is right now, there is no way for me to exaggerate or reduce the specularity, which I want to be able to control in compositing in After Effects. So in order to do that, knowing that I have already a layer that contains specularity information there, I'm going to go to the color layer. I'm going to select the color layer there, and I'm going to go under edit. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to just say paste. So I'm just copying and pasting that layer. I'm going to rename it now. I'm going to call it specular. Just by doing like that, let me rename it correctly, specular. So by showing that highlighted, that means that it's been copied and pasted. Now, this layer is exactly the same as the layer that we have above, which has already the same collection and the same values. So we need to modify it. As you may imagine, we need to modify both the color layer, which has a specularity in it, and the specular layer now that we have. So let me go back to the specular layer, and what's going to happen here is that the override, which is going to the shader override, let me just make sure I find it right. I'm sorry, this one doesn't have a shader override. This is the actual shader that the creature has. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to maintain, I'm selected here, let me double check, this is the layer, the shader, I'm sorry, I'm going to click on the geometry. This is not actually, let me click on the geometry right here. That's the eye, this is the body, there we go. And I'm going to bring my hyper shade, I'm going to graph it in my hyper shade, there it is. And in my hyper shade, I'm going to click on the shader, there is the shader. Right. So what do I need to change? I need to change first the weight. I'm in the color layer. I don't want to change this one. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click on the weight of the base. I'm going to create an absolute override for the color of that shader. Specular, I'm going to also the value is 2.32, but I'm going to turn it off completely. I'm going to create a absolute override for this visible layer, and additionally to that, I'm going to go to the emissions, which is the red glow on his belly and his back. I'm going to just create an override for this one, and I'm going to turn it off actually. There it is. Let me just make sure that I create an absolute override right there. There we go. So I have that. Let me now do a quick test of that layer to see how that looks. So let me just I have the right layer here. Let me see if I can test this one out right now. I'm gonna pause my video for a second, but it renders. Okay, so now I can see that my highlight is not showing anymore. The glow has been reduced a little bit, and I have a color information that just color. There is no specularity going on this character anymore. So now I need to go to my copied layer. In this case, it's going to be this one. And while I'm there, I'm going to go and click on my shader one more time and just make sure that it activates my layer. There is changes when I go to that. And in this case, I'm going to, in the specular value, I'm going to still maintain my weight for the emission at 0, because I want to create another one for that. And I'm going to crank up my specular to 100, because the specular, they want working here. And I'm going to bring my base down to 0. Again, I'm just simply creating an absolute override for that. So what I'm doing is that I'm bringing back up the specular, and let me just test that one out now to see how that. Let me just save this one so I can see it here, I'm gonna go and render this one out now. Now you see that my creature, it's all glossy. It's showing all the glossiness that it may receive on the bumpiness and everything. It's probably a bit more than what I want, but this is perfect because I have now the potential of going and bringing it into After Effects and controlling. I can tone it down or tone it up according to what I need. Now, of course, I have a problem here, and that is that the eye is completely has the color information. That means that I have to go through the same process for the eye so that we can remove the color information and just maintain the specularity value on the eye. So let's do that quickly. So what that means, I'm going to just save this one here just to keep it, just so I can come back to it. And then I'm going to go back to the color layer one more time. And in this case, what I'm going to select is the eye. I believe this is the eye, not the one above. Let me make sure that's it. There it is. Let me highlight it on my hyper shade. There is my eye shader, by the way. My eye shader has a combination of layers of ramps to generate that shader. That I invite you to look into the file that I'm sharing with you so that you can see how it is put together. Alright, so I have my eye shader there. I'm going to move it to the side here. And this eye shader, hold on, let me just make sure that I have the right one. There we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna have my shader selected here, and this layer I want the eye to be on, and I want the specularity to be at 0. That's correct, and I don't want it to have any emission on it. Let me just test it out one more time on this layer. I'm on the color layer, by the way, so let me just go and test it. I'm going to put it to render there. So in this case, I got the eye with some reflection going on there. The reflection usually is coming from some metalness that my eye ball has. I'm okay with it right now. I'm not going to change that. I could turn it off if I wanted, but I'm not going to do it there. I'm going to go to the next layer, and I'm going to try to work on it. I'm going to go to the specular layer, in which I'm going to create, again, I'm going to select the shader here. I'm going to select it outside of my view here. It's selected right now, and in this case, this shader has not received an override on this layer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn off that color. I'm going to maintain the specular. I can turn off the metalness, although undo that because I didn't create an override on the other layer. And I think that be it. Let me just test it to see how that looks. And again, I'm in the specular layer. So you see now I get on my reflective on my layer some reflection and some specularity. I could play with metalness, turn it off or on if I wanted to. For now, I'm going to keep it as is. I think I'll be able to work with it as it is in After Effects. So you see I have a lot of glossiness, a lot of reflection going on here, but it's something that I can manipulate and work with in After Effects Control. You see the information that I have there. Alright, I'm going to stop this one there. We'll save my file one more time, and we're going to continue with the next one.